Welcome back, poker people, to the Voting Vlogs back here at TCH Houston. Let's get straight into the session like always. See you guys inside. So, as usual, buying into the 1-3 no limit hold'em at TCH Westheimer for $1,000, our usual standard buy-in. And in the first hand of interest, it's a pretty interesting one. We look down at King Queen offsuit in the +1. Under the gun limps, we go ahead and make it $20. Small blind, big blind, under the gun, all call. 4 players to flop, which comes 6, 5, 5, 2 spades, and a club. We do have the queen of spades. And when it checks us, we're going to c-bet here for $35, not going too big, and only the under the gun calls. Turns the jack of hearts, and the other gun checks once again. I like to polarize this hand and go just super large. We basically have king high, no real equity to this board. And I go for $190, obviously a lot more than the pot. Basically pressuring any pocket pair he'd limp call with, flush draws, and basically making it really hard for him to continue if I'm doing this with something like overs or maybe even ace-jack of spades possibly. And we're sitting 1K effective, so he has to be afraid of a big river bet if he does call out of position. So undergun ends up folding, and we take this nice pot down with king high. So moving right along after that good bluff, we have 3 deuce offsuit in the big blind, also known as the dirty diaper. Undergun limps, button limps, and we're obviously going to check our option here. Flop comes 6, 4, 4, 2 spades in the club. We have a gutter ball to the straight, and it ends up checking through. Turn brings the bink 5 of hearts. Now I hit the deuce to 6 straight. Not the best because we do have this dummy straight. 7, 8 makes a better straight. 3, 7 if they somehow have that. And obviously there's a lot of boats like 4, 6, 4, 5. We go ahead and lead for $15 though, trying to get value from overcards or maybe even a 4. Undergun folds and the button now raises $35. We obviously can't fold given that we have a very disguised straight here. So we go ahead and make the call. Rivers to ace of hearts. We want to pot control here. There's not many hands we get value from, and he could still be bluffing with something like miss spades. So we go ahead and check it. The button now bets $75, and this is just an easy call. We're never going to raise, so if he has a better hand, then so be it. He does, in fact, having 8-7 of spades, which is the better straight, so unfortunate big blind special in that one for us. Looking down in the next hand, we look down at pocket aces, the Rockets on the button straddle. Small blind limps the 6, hijack limps the 6. We go ahead and make it $35, and only the small blind calls. Heads up to a flop, which comes 7, 4, 4, rainbow. Small blind checks, we're obviously going to c-bet. We can down bet here. Betting a majority of our range on this board that doesn't really favor us, so we go for $25, and unfortunately the small blind does fold, so we do get $35 plus some change here. Looking down at ace-9 offsuit on the button straddle this time, small blind under the gun limp to 6, low jack now makes it $26. The hijack calls, I like to make the call on the button, the small blind calls and under the gun calls. So a lot of players going to this flop, which comes ace, 4, 3, 2 clubs, and a heart. We flop top pair obviously, but we're in a really weird spot because a kicker's not going to be good a lot of the time. Small blind checks, under the gun checks, low jack now c-bets for $70. We're going to go ahead and call here. He could be c-betting with a lot of his range, not just exclusive to a better ace than us. So we'll peel one and see if we can catch up if we are behind, or if not, we'll just have to fold on the turn. Small blind somehow calls and under the gun calls as well. So 4 players surprisingly to the turn. We're assuming we're behind at this point, given that there's so many people involved in this hand. And the turn brings the 9 of hearts. So club draw, heart draw, and obviously a flop straight on the board with 5 deuce. But we most likely have the best hand at this point, except maybe losing to the one combo of aces. So small blind checks, under the gun checks, low jack bets $350. I assume he's scared of draws. And if he's trying to bet with fold equity with his own draws, then we're just going to go ahead and get the money in the middle with him with our 2 pair. So we go ahead and raise it all in for $810 effective. Small blind folds, under the gun folds, and the low jack tank folds and ace. So unfortunate that we couldn't get the call there, given that we were pretty much super far ahead with him drawing to only 3 outs. But it is what it is. We'll take that hefty pot and move on to the next one. So very healthy pot, and in the immediate next hand, as you can see, we haven't even stacked our chips. We looked down at pocket 7s in the cutoff. The button straddle is on. Small blind, low jack, limp to 6. We go ahead and make it $40 with this pocket pair. The button folds and the small blind goes all in for $96 effective. Obviously, we're not going to fold when the low jack folds, so we make the call, and we're up against ace king offsuit, and he does in fact hit a king on the river, so that pot is going to be going towards him. You win some, you lose some. Our table is now 5-handed. We look down at jack 9 of clubs in the big blind. The hijack opens for $15, and we are the only caller. Heads up to flop, which comes 8, 6, 3, rainbow. There is a club, so we have backdoor clubs as well, backdoor straight draw. We obviously don't have any reason to be betting here and donk leading, so we check, and the hijack checks back. Turns a 5 of hearts, and when the hijack checks on that flop, I don't think he has a lot of the board and overs. he should be c-betting with a lot of his ace X's and even pocket pairs. So I go ahead and donk lead here with $25, expecting that we should have a lot of the range here. And the hijack ends up making the call. River's the deuce of hearts, and I would have barreled on any non-heart jack or lower, but he can be calling turn with a lot of hearts and ace X and king X hands. So I end up checking, and he checks back, and he has king 9 of spades to win this one. Back to 9-handed at this point, we have king queen offsuit in the +2. The undergun straddles on. We open for $30 and only the cutoff calls. Heads up to flop, which comes 10, 10, 7 rainbow. We go ahead and c-bet here for $25 with our 2 overs and the cutoff calls. Turns the jack of diamonds, giving us the open-ended. So we're obviously going to continue barreling here with our equity. And we go for $90, to which the cutoff folds. So always nice to take down some of these hands with king high, ace high. So be it. And we're just happy to take some profit. Now looking at ace jack offsuit under the gun, we open for $15. The +1 calls, low jack calls, hijack calls, small blind calls, and the big blind folds. 5 players to flop now, which comes king 7, 5 rainbow. And as we're checking through, and the turn is the 7 of diamonds, it checks at the +1 who bets $50, and all of us fold. There's no reason to really c-bet on flops like this multi-way, just because it's way too multi-way, and it's more likely that they hit a king or something. So we just be lighting money on fire, and we want to cut our losses short. Heads up, it's very possible to barrel on a board that favors our texture and range, but in these, you just want to cut your losses as early as possible and just move on to the next hands. Leaving T-stage now. Not much going on, just a lot of being card dead. But sometimes when you're card dead, you force bluffs more than you have to, but sometimes they work out for the better. In the game for 1,000, out of the game for 1,300, that's a profit of $300. So even for being card dead, plus 300 is pretty good. I'll take it. A profit is a profit, a win is a win. So yeah, leaving T-stage here, in for 1,000, out for 1,300. If you like the content that you see, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.